What's up YouTube? Welcome to the 6th edition of our Mythic Plus Midnight tier list. My name is Petko, and as you guys already know, there's been quite a few changes this week, and with that, the tier list will obviously progress. This is a progressive tier list, which means it will get updated every single Sunday until we get no more class changes. We expect to see class changes all the way until mid of March. Some of them are going to be big, some of them small, but whether they are big or small, I'm gonna be always reporting this and updating you guys what's up. As always, this is purely my opinion. If you have different opinion, let me know down in the comments, feedback, etc. I'm willing to talk about and justify my options. Thank you for watching, and let's begin. Havoc DH. Havoc DH, guys. Havoc DH. Playstyle is amazing. The deep damage profile is amazing, but the tuning on beta is horrendous. They haven't seen any changes for a long time, and I'm here to say Havoc needs some buffs, okay? Everything else is great. You're very tanky, decent utility, super mobile, great damage profile, at least design wise, but the tuning is horrendous. This spec does very well in pre-patch, but we don't care about pre-patch. We talk about beta and the experience on beta, because beta is the most realistic experience before midnight releases on how your spec is going to play out during the season. Okay, so right now, Havoc, unfortunately, numbers-wise, not looking that good. Retribution Paladin. Once again, retaining the C tier performance. Horrendous tuning on the Retribution Paladin so far. Design wise sucks. Tuning is off. At least you're tanky. At least you're easy to play. At least you have good utility. That is something. Unfortunately, once again, the tuning prevails you. I'm sure the buffs on the Retribution Paladin will come soon enough. Okay? That's all I'm gonna say. I'm sure about it. Okay. Once again, Mistweaver Monk, Press Evoker retain the C tier performance. They haven't seen any changes at all, so they are the same whether they're gonna be healing or DPS wise. It's not really great. So first of all, healing profile on Press Evoker Monk, Press Evoker is quite good for rate. Unfortunately for M+, it's still bad. I think numbers healing wise, I don't think you bat most definitely, but at least you struggle a lot while the groups are spread around. Obviously better than before, but just numbers don't look to be insane, neither for DPS nor HPS. I guess the story is different for raid, but right now we're focusing on Mythic Plus. So yeah. On behalf of Monk, I would say healing on Monk, in my opinion, is definitely better than Press Evoker, but everything else on Monk sucks. From design, from damage output, from external defensives, everything sucks, which is unfortunate because Monk used to be really actually fun. Once again, for the 6th time in a row, I like to complain about Monk's external defensives. In my opinion, Cocoon is dog shit. Cocoon should get reworked, buffed, or any other way to make Cocoon more viable. I think Monk is actually struggling from getting a strong external damage reduction ability for your tank, which most definitely at times could feel, you know, it needs to be addressed. That's all about Monk. An absolutely shitfest so far from Balance Druid. So I have several complaints from Balance. Yes, they've got a buff, and no, that doesn't matter, because your damage profile, whether it's gonna be single target or AoE, it's still bad. I guess on a mass AoE, Balance doesn't play that bad. And when I say mass AoE, I mean like, you know, Academy first pull, anything like 12 plus mobs, Starforce uncapped does big damn, sure, that's fine. But anything in between, horrendous. The ST, horrendous. Not looking great there. Also, Blizzard noted that they did their best to make sure Balance doesn't need to have this long ramp up effect, and you can just start immediately do Starfalls. Not the case. Even if you have Sunfire, Moonfire application process, by the time you start to actually ramp up with Starfalls, the pack is already dead. So maybe on like extremely high level keys, like always, balance might be fine, but until then, very, very much undertuned. I would love to see more chicken buffs, especially for raid. I'm gonna be surprised if they don't buff it for raid. I'm pretty confident it's gonna get buffed. Pretty confident. Like, I'm 99% sure they'll get buffed again. That's it. So we've got Holy Priest on a B tier. Nothing has changed from Holy Priest so far. Absolutely nothing. Everything from Holy Priest screams like mid-performer. I guess the AoE output of Holy Priest is still definitely something that they need to address again for Mythic Plus. But everything else don't look that bad, nor look great, you know? It's okay. It's a great average performer so far across the healer meta. That doesn't mean it's bad. Once again, it's just average. The next hero is going to be Paladin. I still feel like Holy Paladin healing output is a struggle. I think the design of Holy Paladin is great. I think the mob control is great. Defensive is great. Very good utility package. The damage profile is okay, but healing is just something that they need to address further. Whether they're going to buff AoE healing more or in general all healing attributes, I don't really care. But that's something that they just need to actively work on so Holy can get better. That is the only thing that I have against Holy Paladin. Once that gets to be resolved, I'm sure it's going to climb the meters. For now, I'm going to say... a B tier. You know. I'm going to put Shadow Priest first in Unsure. Now, the reason why I'm putting Shadow Priest in Unsure is because I tested many keys on Shadow Priest this week. And neither of the keys Shadow Priest was insane. They weren't bad, but they weren't great. It sounds to me like a mid-performer so far. However, I did play Misery build. Which is definitely lower skill build, while there's a different build that does not play Misery and technically can do better. So until I get to fully test out Shadow Priest with the alternative build, playing Voidweaver, no Misery, I can't say for sure where they will be. But I can tell you one thing, Shadow is most definitely not S tier, and Shadow is not a C tier. So it's anywhere between B and A+, this bracket. I need to get back and test the non-Misery build to let you know. But that's all about Shadow Priest. Other than that, you didn't change much. I think that the design of Shadow Priest is amazing. The damage profile of Shadow Priest, the way that you do damage is also great because you can actually focus one target while actually doing AoE, which is great for M+. It's gonna speed the key big time. But once again, I was not impressed. I was not impressed so far from Shadow Priest. But not impressed only by pure numbers, not by design. Design is great once again. They fixed the city, yes. It's just that there's a build that does not play Misery, which I did not fully explore. I will be exploring that build again. I played it a while back, but not recently. So I said, okay, you know what? I need a few more days to actually play it again and see what's up. Arms goes next on a B tier. Now there's several issues with Arms Warrior. The most important issue, and I would like to say this again, Colossus Arms is disgustingly bad. Play Slayer. Slayer rage economy is much better. The sustained damage of Arms is actually pretty good. For the most part, I did well. But the burst damage in Arms, horrendous. Like, they need to shift some damage around so they have better front load burst. Maybe they get to buff Blade Storm? I'm not sure. But something must be changed on Arms in order for them to get higher, in my opinion. Single target did not seem that impressive. Now, previously they were the king of execute. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. Maybe they're still very good, but not. I don't think they're the king, you know. So yeah, a little bit of troubles from a time. Also, Fury Warrior is significantly better, so I just don't see a reason of you playing Arms over Fury, unless you are just like hating the gameplay of Fury. Then sure, but for the most part, it's not. I think Devourer is still horrendous design-wise for Mythic Plus. I think Devourer can definitely do better on the high-level keys because your sustained damage during cooldowns is great, and so is the burst. But the damage off cooldowns, every time you don't have dark meta, it's crazy bad. It's actual tank damage. So there's a few things they can change about Devourer. give them more damage outside of meta, or make meta less powerful to compensate for that. That's what I can suggest, because this is like, it's a pure hell to play Devourer on like weekly 10 to 15 keys. Like pure hell. I don't think it's good to be played there. But once again, many things can change on Devourer. I think so far, maybe getting an extra button on them couldn't hurt. In the long run, could not hurt, in my opinion. Fire Mage gets the cake for the bottom of A tier. Honestly, the biggest complaint from the community so far on Fire Mage are two. The first thing is, outside of cooldowns, aka no combustion, your damage is, well, usually it's quite low, now it's actually 0. So that is the biggest complaint. Mismanaged combustion can cost you a lot more than before. Second thing, the priority target damage on Fire Mage is non-existent if you play the Sunfire Flamestrike build. I guess it's slightly better if you do play the Frostfire Pyro build, but still you kind of sacrifice a lot of AoE for that one. That is not a complaint. I think this spec is one of the specs that I would absolutely not recommend anybody playing on like low level keys. It's more of like a mid to high level key spec. On low level keys, you will be like, you're better off playing Retribution Paladin over Fire Mage, in my opinion. It's real down bad there. But once again, I don't try to consider that. I'm just letting you know in case you're actually trying to main Fire Mage. I'm sure an exceptionally good Fire Mage can make a difference, but for the mass amount of people, I would say being bottom of A tier is quite generous. I'm gonna put Unholy DK in unsure. Several reasons. First of all, I'd like to say I mistakenly put Unholy DK last week on A+ tier. I put it at the end of A+ tier. That was most definitely a mistake. I don't think they were deserving of that spot. I think it was more like an A tier. Now, the most recent changes of Unholy should have bumped them a bit, but their performance is still quite stale. I would say for the most part, I'm unsure where they belong. Because on a high level keys, once mobs live longer, I could see the damage, during major damage cooldowns, Unholy can do well. The problem is, in between those major cooldowns, and if you cannot sustain your Sunlin buff, the 7 stack, but I think it's called Blood of the Queen, I think it's called. Those 7 stacks, if you can't retain those 7 stacks before you hit your minor cooldowns, you will be doing no damage. So it's really difficult to measure its true power. If I have to put it anywhere right now, it will probably be around A tier. Maybe like mid of A tier or bottom of A tier, but most definitely it was not A+. I'm going to be trying Rider of the Apocalypse after Sunlin, although Sunlin should still be better. And as soon as I try Riders, just to see both builds, I'll let you guys know. But I believe the continuous nerfs on Unholy definitely felt the most impactful around high level keys. Frost DK goes next in line, in my opinion. So from all of the builds that I've tested on Frost DK, I think Frost is definitely better than Unholy. That's what I'm convinced that. I don't think the damage profile is exceptional though. I don't think anything you do is exceptional. I think it's just above average, but that's about it. You know, it's not crazy good, it's not bad. It's just about just above average. The burst is good though. During your major cooldowns with the Frostworm, Frostbane build, the buffs are good, especially if you play Brett. The priority target damage is not as good as before because you don't play Death's Mark. You play Riders now, for the most part. The ST is also okay, above average, but nothing exceptional. Yeah, that's about Frost DK. I really can't say much else, because the spec plays exactly the same as last season. There's no changes, except that you have to press now Frostworm to min-max your Apex Talons. You're pretty tanky, you don't die. That's it. That's it. That's what I can say about Frost DK. I have planned to put this spec on the up to the B tier, bottom of A tier. The thing is, I just need more practice to play Monk to have a better, adequate position of where they belong. So far, I've played bold builds. I've played Shadowpan, multiple builds Shadowpan. I've played Conduit. So Shadowpan felt more consistent, more sustained damage, but lesser spikes. Conduit felt like a massive spike, better single target, but sustained damage is lower. I think Conduit is better because the single target of Conduit is crazy good, which is something that it's always going to be great in Mythic Plus. You just need specs that do good ST. I just need more time to be testing more Monk to have better opinions so far on behalf of Windwalker Monk. But so far, out of everything that I've tested and seen, I would say at least bottom of A tier is what Monk, I believe, is gonna be put if I gotta rank it right now. But for the sake of not, give me a few more days. I'll practice more. I'll get back to you next week. We rank it properly. I promise that. It's Enhanced Shaman. Unfortunately for Enhanced, although the package they offer is great, the numbers are not quite there for them so far. I would love to see an enhanced hotfix, first of all, hotfix onto Temic, so you don't ninja pull like Monkey. Then some numbers adjustments. A little bit of single target to be increased on Enhanced Shaman. The AoE part as well, a little bit more. Maybe an auto buff, I'm not sure. But design of the Enhanced is great. It gets a thumbs up from me. Which is not entirely bad. If you Enhanced Shaman, I wouldn't doom yet. Because it's important right now for you for the design to be good, okay? That is far more important than tuning, for now speaking. Defensive value of Enhanced is also an area I would love them to get buffed. I don't even know why they haven't even been buffed yet there, but I really hope to see that in the upcoming weeks of Alien Enhanced and actually getting a second defensive option. Hunter right next to Enhanced Shaman. Now, I want to say this right now before you start dooming. Hunter is most definitely a spec that can do more damage than some of the specs placed above A tier or even to A plus tier. It is possible because the burst damage of is crazy strong. So if you do play like mid to low level keys, this spec is atrociously strong. The problem is several. First, quality of life changes on the Hunter are terrible. Direct Ranger right now plays like an ass. Black Arrow does not consume precise shots. You need to juggle with Black Arrow with multi-shot, aim shot, and rapid fire. Terrible gameplay. Second, Sentinel is the most snoozer spec you can actually play. If you miss aim shot, you gotta move away from aim shot, you do 0 damage. Third, your sustain damage on Hunter is also quite low. Like, during cooldowns, big numbers with puzzle box. Outside of major cities, okay damage. Nothing crazy. Solution. Hotfix quality of life changes on Hunter ASAP. And second thing, roll numbers on single target. Maybe buff the arcane shot with precise shot buffing. Maybe allow for Black Arrow to consume precise shots so we can play Dark Ranger. Anything is better than nothing. So they gotta work on that one for sure. I like the design of Hunter during the War Within with the Dark Ranger build. That was way better. So hopefully we see that again. Okay. That's about Hunter. Also, no raid buff. No raid buff means you're very unlikely to be picked up unless you do insane damage. Raid buffs are important in a party. Hunter's Mark is good in raid, but not strong enough in Mythic Plus. Elemental Shamoni. Elemental Shamoni is an example of mid-performer. I think this spec is gonna be doing absolutely crazy in single target / raid performance, but Mythic Plus so far is looking a bit dark. I think Stormbringer is a spec that I've previously enjoyed playing. The current Stormbringer is horrendously bad. I don't recommend you to try it out. The Farseer build does better in my opinion in Mythic Plus. Once again, there are pros and cons with that build too. No prior damage, sustained damage is a bit sussy, burst damage is crazy good however, and ST is good, and good utility, right? And I guess the defensive part of Elemental is also quite bad. I think Elemental so far and Enhanced Shaman are the weakest defensively. I guess you can say Balance Druid also bad defensively, and Devastation can get some buffs defensively, I guess. And they just got nerf defensive, so I don't think they get anything. So yeah, Alien Enhanced definitely need some love when it comes down to defensive options. Unlucky. It's okay. It's okay, chat. Next in line is gonna be Assassination Rogue. Now there are several issues with Assassination Rogue so far. The most important as a rogue issue is that you are most definitely starved on energy. There are some bugs attached to it, but for the most part, that area needs to get addressed ASAP. Otherwise, the gameplay feels horrible. Sure, the quality of life updates on Asta Rogue are great. Most definitely plays a lot better than the World Within, which is definitely an improvement because people complain how they played out. I love the design of the spec. The performance during cooldowns looks to be really good. The proud target damage slash funnel, insane. The damage off cities, a bit low. Perhaps another buff in that area could be good. I mean, they just nerf costing spatter just to give you more overall damage. I guess the Garauts now and the Raptors should be contributing more from the overall damage compared to before, which is fine. Previously, they weren't compared to costing spatter. That's about it. I think on a high level keys, Astro can actually do better. I'm not even kidding. Like maybe if you play like 20 keys or so, then Astro can actually do better. But I don't really like the way it plays right now for the most part. Once again, they might buff the energy and could be better, but yeah. It is Sub Rogue. Absolute cinema. Sub Rogue next, right next to Asta Rogue. Now, I would say Sub Rogue most definitely, in my opinion, felt very good to play. Although it has a raid buff. It's called Atrophic Poison, chat. Atrophic Poison is a unique buff only available to rogues. It does 3% damage reduction or 3.6% if you play a talent. What do you mean? What is it if it's not a raid buff? What? Okay, why would you call it then if not raid buff? I mean, which other spec has 3%, you know, it is raid buff, right? It's a debuff. Okay, whatever you want to call it. I call it a raid buff. You guys call it whatever you like. I mean, for me it is. Because it's a poison damage that provides less damage. You know? Anyway, okay, sure. Let's call it poison, not raid buff. Fine. You know, if that's how you want to call it, for me it's fine. Fine. Okay, fine. So I've tried different builds on Sub Rogue, and that's one of the specs that I've actually invested a lot of time to get better. Because my Sub Rogue usually sucks, but I spent a lot of time getting better on Sub Rogue. Now I have a better opinion. So I think Trickster build is definitely the go-to right now on Sub Rogue. And while your rotation is mostly Shuriken Stone and Black Powder, at least as Trickster you get to squeeze in Eviscerate Coup de Grace proc. You get to press your I forgot the ability every 24 seconds that you don't have it anymore, CDR, etc. But the reason why I think Sub is better than Asa is because the frontal damage of this spec is amazing. Which means by the time you actually allow other specs to ramp up, your damage is already hit in. Which means it's gonna be playing well on all key levels. Whether you play low, high level, rank 1 keys, the frontal burst is gonna be an asset of yours that I think it can be utilized a lot, especially in those mid-level key range. I think the Sub Rogue can benefit from getting single target buff. I believe that's something that I would love to see being adjusted further. I think the AoE of that spec is already fine enough. Yeah, I think that's all about Sub Rogue so far. I would love to get a bit of ST buffs. That's about it. Destro, it's right here, right next to Enhanced Shaman. I completely forgot Destro. My bad. I want to comment on Destro, okay? Warlock mains in the chat. Hear me out. Destruction Warlock. The biggest issue so far on Destro Lock is that your single target is absolutely horrendous, okay? The burst damage on AoE is great. The sustained damage of Destro Lock is okay. The proud damage is good if you play the Chaos Bolt build. Obviously, Diabolus Chaos Bolt build. The gameplay loop is a bit boring. But what they need to do is to give you more Chaos Bolt damage or any damage that gets you more single target. Demon Fire Infusion buff. China Demon Fire buff. The opening the portal bottom left capstone, you can actually buff that too. Anything to make Destro do more ST, I'll be happy to have it. But right now, in the current state, whatever talents I've tried, it's just bad on ST, bro. And I'm not gonna lie to you, don't matter if you do insane AoE if your ST is like below tank, you know. I'm not right now, out of every single spec that I've tried, this room might have one of the lowest ST in the game. With the Mythic Plus build. I don't talk about raid builds. So that's why I'm putting Blood DK in the 8 here as the lowest performer, but that does not mean Blood DK is bad. That just means other tanks can do slightly better than what they can do. And yes, Blood DK does not have a raid buff. Now, I'm not gonna go into arguments whether grip is a raid buff. I don't care if it is or not. For me, it is not a raid buff, but it's a unique thing that they provide, I guess. And that's about it. Blood DK becomes significantly easier than before, which lowers the barrier to entry, which allows more players to actually get to play Blood DK. I think the durability, the defensive profile of Blood DK is not crazy, but it's not bad. I would say like more like mid in that sense. Damage profile is fine though. I've seen some Blood DKs pop off, so I'll definitely say Blood DK does not do well. Does not do bad. Sorry, does not do bad there. But I wouldn't say bad performer. Pharaoh Druid is officially out of the mud. This shit is now blasting. I said what I said. I said what I said. The gameplay is still dog shit. It don't matter. The damage is better. Now, several things have changed on Pharaoh. First of all, your Apex talents are finally working. After 3 months of feedback, they finally fixed them. Can we have clap in the chat for Blizzard? Nice. Good shit. Anyway, outside of this, they've also got some general buffs, which helps them with the performance. Now, there's several issues with Pharaoh Druid. First of all, single target is an area of Pharaoh where it needs to be further explored. Get more damage on Shred, get more damage on Rake, buff Rake so we can actually cast Rake consistently in Mass AoE. Because right now, I don't really cast Rake as much once I play Mass AoE. I'm like, you know, up to 5 targets I do with a double Rake Claw, I guess. But outside of this, Rake is under tune, it needs to get buffed more. The sustain AoE damage of Pharaoh is blasting, by the way. I'm gonna play Pharaoh after this tier list. And I swear to you guys, I swear to you, once you see it, you'll be like, okay, Petko, you were right. The sustain AoE of Pharaoh is doing pretty well. You got good prio because you bite most of the time on AoE while maintaining rip. And you have great burst. And you have good utility. I think Pharaoh is far better than Balance. 100%. I'm not saying Pharaoh is meta, but hear me out. If Brewmaster becomes the best tank, or one of the best tanks, you automatically play Fury Warrior. See what I mean? Fury, Monk, Resto Shaman, Rogue, and who's the last pick, chat? Hey, yo! Pharaoh is coming. I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you right now. Hey. I'm telling you right now. Pharaoh is good. I am even slightly underestimating Pharaoh. Pharaoh might actually be A+ tier. Not even kidding, by the way. I am not even kidding. Chat, A+ tier. First of all, healers for A+ tier pretty obvious. I'll speak about him again. I think that Restoration Shaman and Disc Priest are second and third best healers right now. Obviously, several reasons why that is. First of all, Disc Priest got most recently nerfed a bit in AoE, or in general, healing got nerfed on Discipline Priest. But I still think what they offer in terms of output plus utility is great, and it can match any comp. Restoration Shaman feels great to play. I think the biggest issue in the Restoration Shaman is just AoE healing output. It's a little bit lower than the rest of the healers. but the Proud Target healing and ST healing is fine. The utility package on Restoration is the same, is the same, very strong, and is the only heal with Interrupt. And here's the deal: if physical meta comps actually become dominant, or at least closer to the meta comp of S tier, Restoration Shaman is the go-to heal, which means your likelihood of being invited is a lot higher than Disc Priest, if that is the case. And I think it will be the case, because right now there's a few stronger melee options, but Brewmaster currently is doing very good, which means Restoration Shaman stonks might go up in the future. That's about it, okay? That's about it. Currently, Restoration Druid is untouched. They recently nerfed only Discipline Priest. I think Restoration Druid healing is the best in the game. Sustain healing is amazing so far. And once again, the utility package they have is unchanged, amazing. So if you are looking to see the performance against each other, the Restoration Druid is looking and doing pretty well. Once again, I hope that they will change though. I really want to see a different meta when it comes down to healing, but I'll be honest, Holy Paladin is my favorite. Holy Paladin is my favorite healer to be meta. I have never had issues with Paladin, so if Holy Paladin can be meta, that'll be great. I love to see more of that. Yeah. Beast Mastery Hunter is strong enough to retain its A+ tier spot. The sustained damage of BM Hunter is still very, very strong. The single target is also pretty good. Not incredible, but it's not bad either. You can play both builds. Dark Ranger, which is tankier build, or Pack Leader, which is more traditional build per se. Most definitely a good pickup. It is not the best, but in a physical comp, it looks to be very strong still. Hence why I think A+ tier contender for Hunter is great. Keep in mind that survival is better in my opinion, but it is a melee, not a ranged. So that is something to consider. But yeah, I don't think the BM Hunter is as dominant. And in terms of playstyle, you play exactly the same. Like there's no significant difference between the playstyle of BM Hunter now and the Warwick 10. I guess the biggest difference here could be Wild Trash instead of Multi-Shot. That's about it, chat. That's about it. It is gonna be Outlaw Rogue. I honestly quite enjoyed Outlaw so far. The rotation felt slower, which is good because before it was degenerate. The buff to the single target improved the ST significantly. Previously, that was the only complaint of mine. The ST to be better. I think Rogue or in general Outlaw is the best ST spec in the game. And I think Outlaw can be an S tier contender if you play in a physical comp. Like Brewmaster, Fury Warrior comp, I think Outlaw is insane. Quite frankly, not many specs can match him right now. If that is the case. Obviously right now, if you do play magical comp, you don't play Outlaw at all, but unfortunately the utility part of Rogue, that is correct, is a little bit lackluster compared to the rest, especially with the Shroud. Previously Shroud was very important skip method. Nowadays I don't think there's any skips that require Shroud. And if there is, Night Tail skips are a lot more manageable, and yeah, it's just Shroud is not a great anymore button. Before it used to be. Affliction Lock being next. Now, Affliction Lock is a spec that has seen quite a few changes in the past, recently not, but I'm here to assure every single Warlock main, especially Afterlock mains, you're doing amazing so far in beta. Very good single target, good sustain, good burst, tanky. I can't say anything bad about Afterlock. In fact, if they nerf Demo big enough, Affliction might become the go-to range spec for Warlocks, right? I'm just saying, looking pretty good for Afterlocks. And personally, one of the favorite ults to play myself. Now, the prior target damage of Affliction is not so great compared to before, but it's not bad either, because you know, Hound, etc. You can just like get it done, but it's not crazy bad. No, Affliction don't have any more Malefic Rupture. Right now, Affliction has Seed Spam and Unstable Affliction Spam on ST. So, not any more Malefic Rupture. Yeah, you just spam like a tons of seeds in AoE. But that's about it. Yeah. Malefic Grasp, I think it's more like this is like a single target talent. I don't think you play at M+. I don't think so. I could be wrong though. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a ST. Okay. Right now I consider 3 tanks to be a possible meta tanks. And here they are. I've got Vengeance DH, I've got Brew, and I've got Prot Paladin. Okay. Ghostluck, thank you for the 5th gift dose. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. So there's a like pros and cons across all tanks. Okay, hear me out. So Vengeance DH, first of all, it has a lot of bugs, which makes them better than they are. I think once that gets to be resolved, they might not be the best tank anymore. But until then, they're very strong offensively. They're very strong defensively, if not the best defensively. Super good utility for the team, and once again, has a good mob control. All this combined together, plus magical combos being S tier, makes Vengeance one of the best tanks. Brewmaster, on the other hand, super tank spec, which is great. It's the best contender so far when it comes down to physical comps, and I think the defensive part plus damage part, what they can do, is the main argument of Brew being there. I think the utility is not crazy good, but because they're super tanky and do good damage, which is actually pretty laughable because Brewmaster has always historically been weak defensively. And now they're quite tanky, plus good damage, plus the best contender for physical meta, makes it possible meta. It could be the case on Brewmaster, especially once they nerf Vengeance DH. Last but not least, Protection Paladin. So Protection Paladin, even though it got nerfed, it still has one of the highest, if not the highest, damage output across all tanks. Plus, the utility of Prot Paladin is insane for Mythic Plus. The problem with Protection Paladin is only one: defensive. I don't think you're the tankiest tank. I don't think you are, incredibly strong. So you're a lot more prone to flop, which most definitely mean only one thing: if you can't live with Prot Paladin, you don't play Prot Paladin, you play something else. So maybe for like low to mid level keys, Prot Paladin could be insane because good mob control, great utility, and super high damage, especially burst damage. So if the Paladins can live, then that's an argument of them being the best, right? Especially once they hotfix Vengeance DH, because right now, once again, there are quite a few bugs surrounding Vengeance. Okay, keep that in mind. That's about those 3 options are the possible tank meta so far. I'm gonna be watching them closely as we progress through. I'm really curious to see what Yoda thinks, or Kira. I might ask them after the stream, see what's up with that one, see how they feel about it. Yeah, that's so far my experience with all of those 3 tanks that I've played with. The rest of the tanks, I've placed Guardian and Protection Paladin so far in A+ tier. I think they're slightly worse than those 3 tanks above them, but I don't think they're bad enough to be anything below A. So that's why I put them in A+ tier. I think Guardian has been buffed recently with damage, which makes them tanky, great damage, great utility, which can be good for any key level. My argument here about Guardian is because if Restoration Druid is the meta healer, you don't play Guardian. So a lot less effective to be played in like, meta comps. But you can play Guardian in like alternative comps or hybrid comps, which can be good, especially if you're targeting like mid to high level keys, I guess, or even low level keys. Doesn't really matter, right? I think the mob control on Guardian is pretty weak, but that's fine. Everything else you can get away with. Prot Paladin, same thing. Performance above average. I think you are pretty tanky. Damage is decent as well. Good contender for the physical meta comps. I guess the biggest issue here is that if Brew becomes the physical meta tank, you're not gonna play Prot Warrior as much, right? You're probably gonna be playing Brewmaster for the most part. Especially if Windwalker is like shit and Mistweaver is shit as well. It's just really hard to get the Mystic Touch in. Well, if they buff Windwalker more, then sure, Prot Warrior combo can be actually fine. But that's about it, chat. That's about it. There are several things I can say about Survival. First of all, this is the first time in the history of me testing beta, or maybe the second time, where Survival was so good on beta. Like the single target, the sustain AoE damage, the burst AoE damage, you know, you're also pretty tanky too. Survival is doing very well right now. And quite frankly, the only thing that is pulling you backwards is the utility part. Because I don't think Hunter's Mark is relevant in M+. It is in Raid, but in M+, it's nothing unique. You can match in the physical comps because you benefit a lot from having Battle Shot from Warrior, Mystic Touch from Brewmaster, although you have a few magical damage abilities, you know? So you don't fully benefit from Brewmaster's debuff, Mystic Touch. But for most part, Survival does very well. And I'm super surprised to see it doing very well, by the way. I was really expecting Survival to do like good, but not as good as I thought. So, thumbs up. I've ranked Devastation Evoker back to the A+ tier. The reason why that is because I think the AoE damage of Devastation Evoker is still crazy good. It got nerfed, but it's insanely strong. And the only thing that Devastation does not have is prior target damage. Your prior target is non-existent, which makes it a full path spec. The single target, by the way, is not as bad as you guys think, because there is a build that does way better ST while playing Flameshaper. I'll show you later if you guys want to. But the prior damage on Devastation is horrible. Horrible. I guess Azura's Swipe is the only thing that can do prior. They removed the Consume Flame bug without any compensation. And I quite frankly don't like it. I think a lot of things can be done for Devastation Evoker to be in a better spot. But I'm getting some anxiety from that a bit, I would say, but it's okay. And last but not least, Fury Warrior is also, in my opinion, the top of the A+ ladder, if not a meta pick. Fury Warrior got buffed a few days ago. Your tier set now gives you higher CDR on Odin's Fury, more CDR Odin Fury, which means twice per pack, which makes it the best candidate for physical comp. I think Fury right now is extremely strong and quite tanky, which is always a good thing for Fury Warriors. The single target of Fury is not exceptional, but it's not bad either. I guess the only area where I love Fury to get better is just get better ST. So if you're a Warrior main, I think you are gonna be eating well for the most part. So don't worry about it. Warriors are gonna be eat fine. No panic. No cry. We good. And that's everything so far for the A+ tier. You guys guessed it. The rest of the specs is going to the S tier. I'm just gonna go quick, talk about them, so you guys can know what I'm thinking. Frost Mage, it has everything except single target. Great AoE, the best burst AoE in the game. Sustained damage is insane. Good PO for the tank. Good defensives. Utility is okay as well. The ST is the only thing that I think Frost Mage don't have. Augmentation. Design of Augmentation is crazy strong for Mythic Plus. Once again, they shifted the entire damage profile towards buffing others. Extremely strong pickup for high level keys. Everywhere. Even they have a cheat dead. Arcane Mage, arguably the best single target / pariah funnel in a game. Extremely high value in every single key level, especially high level keys. Once again, tanky, good utility as well. Big W pickup. For low level keys, it's kind of trash. I wouldn't play Arcane. If I'm not playing high level keys, I'm gonna play something else. Demonology, 100% getting a nerf. 100%. The single target is above and beyond any other spec right now. The AoE damage is also insane. Like, sustained damage is the best in the game as well. It's super tanky as well, and at last, in rate, they perform well. I'm pretty sure Demonology will get the hammer. The question is not if, question is when. That's it, chat. That is the update number 6 of the Sunday tier list. We have a few more updates left before the expansion comes out. The final pre-expansion tier list will come on the I guess 1st of March. 1st of March is the final pre-expansion tier list. So 1st of March will be marked as the day where we shall see which comes on top. I will update you until then, every single week until then, okay? Every single week, every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central European Time, I will talk about all the changes. I will talk about how they got changed, what they need to change to get better, and how they shifted from week to week. Once again, the highlights of this discussion, which was like 1 hour and 20 minutes, will be on YouTube by tonight. By tonight. Okay. Any questions? You guys can fire right away. What are we thinking, boys?